Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're trying out some markers sent by a brand called Sanjoki. This is them. I have to be completely honest and say that I'd never heard of this brand before they contacted me, but they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try out some of their alcohol markers. And after looking at their product on Amazon, I realised I had to. The price for these pens are so affordable. You can get this set of 120 for around £44. So I knew I had to check them out and see if the quality of the pens themselves are any good. So that's what we'll be finding out in this video today. I already opened this box earlier to make sure everything was okay, so I'll just be going over it all again with you. So this is the box itself for the 120 set. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. And then this is the carrier that the pens come in. So it's this nice sort of fabric, and it just comes with this metallic clip, and then also some Velcro. So let's open it. So here are the pens. The lid itself, I've seen you can actually roll it up and it can create a stand, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, here are the pens. It comes with some extras. Something I was not expecting is it comes with an A5 marker pad, but I think that's pretty cool if you just get this A5 pad, so I will be testing that out later to see how well that works with the markers. You then also get a swatch sheet. You know how I feel about those. So because it's 120, there are quite a few that I'll have to do, but I will be doing that later. You also get a page protector similar to other brands. You stick it under the page you are working on so that it might bleed through the page you're working on, but it won't go any further than that. You also get a pack of these stickers, and the idea is that you put the colour on them of the pen, and then you can just wrap it around the pen so you can see what the colour actually is, I guess. And then it comes with this little leaflet that shows you all of the colours as well as some extra information. This bit here is just explaining the extras of using the stickers, and then you can fold the case out. And yeah, I think that's it for extras. Oh no, it comes with a strap that you can use to tie onto the case, which is also pretty cool. So it comes with a lot of extras that I just wasn't expecting. It also looks like you can completely open it up if you want to. I'm not sure why, but you can. So the pens themselves look like they've been split up into 3 sections, and they're just like in their own separate packs. Some of them are upside down, which is a bit strange. So I'll just open one of those. So at a first glance of looking at all the pens, they all look like very saturated colours. Obviously that's just the colour of the caps, so they might be very different when swatching. But that is my first impression. I also don't see any pattern to the pens being laid out, so we might have to change that later. But what I do like is there is this plastic container at the bottom, and they have the grids for the individual pens to actually go into. So that's really helpful to keep them organised, which I do actually really like. And then just slot it back in. There we go, that's all of them. So the pens themselves actually look quite similar to other brands I've seen, although they're quite thick actually. They're actually quite chunky. I don't know if you can tell, like they're almost rounded slightly. It's very strange. Yeah, so we have a brush marker and a chisel nib, which is cool. I tend not to use chisel nibs that often, but we will see. Okay, so that means it's swatching time. Okay, so that's the swatching done. The colour range is actually really good. There are quite a few saturated ones, but you also get some nice pastel ones as well, like mixed in, which I think gives you a really nice range. So that's really nice. I really like the colour range. I also organised them in number order, and it just looks really nice, so I am happy about that. So now I'm just going to start planning some drawings in my book and probably test out how well these pens do on this paper, and then also plan something to do on this paper as well, and maybe try and create a final piece or something. Okay, so for this video I had a couple ideas in my head of what I wanted to do. I had recently got the game Baldurs Gate 3, so that was really like at the forefront of my mind. So I just wanted to do some fan art for it for this video, just of a character that I really like. I didn't intend for the whole video to actually be just about that one character, but that's how it turned out. So here you can see me sketching out a picture of Astarion, who is a character from the game. I did use a reference photo, so I will pop that up on the screen, but yeah, I just wanted to try something for him because I thought it would be interesting to test out the pale pastel colours that came in this set, just because I was really curious about those, and just try something out, experimenting with the contrast between the pales and the brights. I also had like fruit and flowers on my mind a lot because one of my favourite artists, Shay, she has some characters that are based on fruits, Strawberry Saul and Blueberry Bill. So fruits have been on my mind a lot, and I realised that when I use markers and alcohol pens, I never really experiment on realistic things, so I thought this would be a good way to combine both of them, so to see how these pens would work with my style, with both somewhat realistic and also simplified, not cartoonish, but I don't really know how to explain my style, but it is very simplified, I think. So yeah, I started with some coloured pencils because I really like how pens lay over that, and I was really pleased with how these lay over it. The pens themselves are very juicy, which is really good, you always want that, but I also find that they smell kind of strange. Like, since doing anything with these pens in my book, my book kind of just smells like them, and normally in the past I find that markers' smells go away over time, and it's been like a week or two since I actually filmed the footage for this video, and the smell's kind of still there, so I don't know what to think of that, but I really like how the pens are blending. You can see here I'm adding the blue shadows to his hair, and I think initially all the colours go down darker as it is because they're wet, but when they were drying I was so happy with how they were looking, and I really like how they look with the brown pencil because it all just like meshes so well in this look that I was going for, because I really wanted this one specifically to come across as like really soft and like gentle colours, and then maybe have some more vibrant stuff come in later. But you can see, even though these pens like are really nice and juicy, I'm surprised they didn't bleed so much, as in like they didn't spread from where I put them as much as I was expecting, which allowed me to get some of the finer details on his jacket with the embossing or whatever it's called. I don't know if that's to do with the pen or the paper I'm using, but that was just something I was really pleased with. And yeah, I was really happy with a lot of the colours. They came out vibrant, the ones that I wanted vibrant, and the pastel ones, they were nice as well. I do think they came out a little darker than I was expecting a lot of the time, and I find that most standard sets for alcohol markers don't usually have enough pastel colours, but the ones that did come I was really happy with. I don't know if I'm making sense, I'm kind of just rambling a bit. But yeah, anyway, I started on the plums. These are meant to be plums, by the way, just because I thought plums would look really nice in contrast. They're like a sort of they make me think of like bloody fruit because they're very like juicy, and that's kind of what I was going for, because if you know the character Astarion, then you know why. Oh, also this pen bled, which was very annoying. It like, when I opened it, ink just went everywhere, all over my hands and my desk, so that was fun. But yeah, trying out the fruits. I don't usually do fruits and vegetables or anything, so I didn't know how to start, so I just tried layering it up with the lightest colour first and then gradually getting darker, and I was just not finding that it was looking right, and I didn't know how to make it look cohesive. And I tried going in with blue just to try and make it look more like plums, but in the end I think I make them perhaps a little too purple, and it kind of loses the redness that I was going for, like the blood redness. But yeah, I don't mind how it turns out. I do think there weren't any yellow greens. They were all either bright green or blue green, and I think there needed to be like another muddy-ish green, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of easy to fix because you can just layer over one of the greens with a yellow and get the effect you were going for, but it did seem to lift up some of the initial green on the leaves, but I think I got the effect I was going for. And then here I just wanted to give it a background. I was kind of undecided on this because I was like, I do like how the colours are popping out, but I think he is blending into the page too much, so it would give it a nice... it would make him stand out just to put a bit of a background, so I tried to keep it gentle with this pink. And yeah, I do think it was necessary. I think it was a good choice to make. So yeah, obviously I went in afterwards with line art just to make something stand out a bit more, using the same pencil that I used at the beginning. These are Faber Castell pencils, by the way. And yeah, I was going with brown because it gives it the soft look I was going for. As I keep saying, I wanted it to look kind of gentle, so I wanted the darker parts to be dark, but not so dark, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. It's because it's got reds in it, it to me makes me think it looks brighter and more saturated. So yeah, that's what I did. I then added some more details to the background of him because I like my drawings to have texture. I really don't like my drawings looking smooth, and I wanted to just busy it up behind him, and I really like how it turned out. I've been doing this a lot with my drawings, of adding like stars and just lines that just add an extra outline, and I really like the effect it has. So yeah, here I was starting on the plums in the bottom corner that's meant to look like someone bit into it. Just using the same colours that I used on the other ones, trying to get the same effect, and I think it was I'd say it was actually easier doing these ones because they were bigger than the first ones I did, so it allowed me to kind of try and get some more detail. So you can actually see more that's going on, whereas the initial ones I think looked a little blobby. But yeah, I had reference for all of them, which I will show on the screen. And yeah, I just tried to follow it as much as possible, whilst also adding vibrancy that I wanted and like trying to add my spin on it. Yeah, so that's what I did, just following the same steps on the other one, trying to make it cohesive. And yeah, I really like how this one turned out. I add more details to it at the end that I think are what tie it together for me. Like, I add in some white highlights and sparkles, obviously, because I have to add sparkles to everything. And the line art really helped in adding the definition and texture that I really like. So yeah, I really like how these turned out. I then decided to change the stars that were around Astarion to blue, or Astarion. I keep calling him Astarion, but his name's Astarion. It's so annoying. I think it's because when the initial beta came out, I hadn't properly watched anything for it, and I just assumed his name was Astarion because it's like Asterius, and I just can't stop calling him Astarion. Never mind, I give up with his name. Anyway, here I'm doing another drawing that I was initially planning to colour in, but I changed my mind just because I like the contrast on the page of having something that isn't coloured in because it makes the other one stand out. And this one ends up just being a sort of like thumbnail for what I do later, and it's fun. I struggled with the mouth, as you probably noticed, so it's kind of annoying because it means it's got the shadow of the previous ones. But yeah, I just wanted to do something new here, so because I'd done fruit already, I added some roses as well, because it seems typical for a character like him to have roses, and so I just wanted to try it. And then down here, because I kind of love that his eyes are like a pink red, I wanted to do something with it to draw attention to that, and one of the fluorescent pens was absolutely perfect for this. It's what I used as the base for the iris. I absolutely love it. It stands out so much. When I darken it up, the fluorescent bits just stand out so much. I maybe darken it up too much, I'm not sure, but I don't know, I really like how the eye turned out. I don't do them often enough, and eyes are really fun to draw, especially when you add all the sparkles and stuff. And yeah, I really like how this eye turned out. I maybe made his eyelashes look a bit too furry almost, but I do also really like that style. I've seen people do that thing in the past, and it's kind of interesting. It makes their eyes look really fluffy, and I like it, like angelic fluffy, you know. Here's where I was using the pad that came with the pens. I wanted to do something with it just to test out the paper, because with the price of these pens, it just seems crazy that you also get a marker pad with it. So I just wanted to see the quality of it, because I don't ever usually use marker pads. And yeah, so I'm just sketching out another version of the drawing I did in the book that I said was like a sort of thumbnail thing, because I kind of wanted to do an almost finished piece. So that's what I'm just sketching out here, and the paper itself is quite thin. I don't know why I was expecting, when you hear marker paper, I like expect something thick. I don't know what defines paper being made for markers, like if it's meant to stop it like bleeding when you put it down, or stop it from showing through on the other side. But I would expect paper to be thicker, but I don't know, I don't use marker paper. But yeah, it seems nice enough. It's quite smoother than the paper I'm used to working with. So the pencil went down really nicely, as expected. I do some testing in a minute before actually starting this piece, because I was like, that would be really stupid not to. But I also didn't know what colours I wanted to do for the roses, because I wanted it to have a sort of nice contrast to him, but without clashing or drawing too much attention away. Right, so this is the page where I was going to do the testing. So I wanted to get a few rough sketches of the roses down first, just to give me some structure to work with. And I had two ideas. I wanted to try going for some like white to pink roses, which I needed to test out because I didn't know if it would clash with him, because he's got his like very pale skin and white hair, and I wanted to give him pink highlights as well. So that's what I was trying here, and this is where I feel a really lighter purple or blue would have been nice, because the one that I did use for shading I think was perhaps a bit too dark, but it's the lightest one they had. And on this flower I was thinking like purple red, and I think I struggled with this one because I started with the wrong colour, and I think I made it too blue, which meant when I was adding the purples and trying to get the vibrancy, it got really muddied. Oh yeah, and here I'm showing it bleeds through onto the protector beneath it, which was strange. The markers, so it's like if you don't put anything beneath it, it will 100% bleed through. Which I haven't usually had when it bleeds actually onto the paper protector before, which is strange. But anyway, yeah, so with the colours of the flowers, I couldn't decide between the two of them. I was really struggling because I was like, I don't actually like either of them. And thankfully, when I do eventually get around to colouring in the roses, I have a sort of like epiphany or whatever of the colour that I should use, and it works out. But it's funny that I didn't use any of the testing ones. But yeah, here I'm just getting the paper protector ready. I actually used a different one I already had because the one they give you is too small for the pad that it comes with, which I think is kind of odd. But the other one I had was big enough, so I used that one instead. And also I was kind of a little icked by the pen lids don't fit on the end of the pens, which was kind of frustrating. Just because I think if you've seen previous videos, you know I like when that happens. I messed up and I accidentally started colouring his hair in the wrong colour, so I had to change his hair, which I was a little upset with because I really liked his hair being really cold, but because I had messed up with the fringe and started making it warm, I had to kind of add it to other places in the hair to make it look more deliberate. And I think it ends up looking okay, but I would have liked it to be consistently cold, but that's just how it happened. I also just noticed while I was watching this that this marker paper, it really did bleed out. I'm not sure if you noticed when I put the hair down initially, but it really spread out to like his eyebrow. I don't know if that's because I put maybe too much pen down at once and it just couldn't handle it, but it looked like it really bled, so I'm not sure what to think of that. But anyway, you can see that I've added the base for the roses now, and it is a different colour to any that I was experimenting with, because I was looking at the swatch sheet and I saw that colour and something in my head was just like, that will be the perfect one for the flowers. And it was. I'm really happy that I used them because it kind of ties into the blood redness theme that I was talking about earlier, whilst also it's not the same colour as his eyes, so his eyes still stand out as being the most saturated point of the picture. I think like it is a kind of neon pink in his eyes, and I think it just works to stand out because the roses are a darker purple. They don't draw too much attention. And I was just generally happy with how the roses turned out. I don't do plants and fruits that often, so I get worried that they aren't gonna look like they make sense or anything, but no, I was really happy with how they turned out. And yeah, here I'm just adding more dark points to his top because I was thinking it wasn't looking real enough. I wanted it to try and convey the sort of leather look that it has, and so I also added some shading to the embossing, which I do think was the wrong choice. I think it would have looked fine if I'd left it as the bright gold because it would have stood out more, whereas now it blends in a little bit. And then I'm just adding I found a different green that I really liked for the plants compared to when I was doing it in my book, and I think it was great because it keeps consistency with the darkness of it. And here I am adding a background to the entire piece because it needed it, and I wasn't sure what to do initially, so I had to consult my brother, and he was great. He was like, I should try a desaturated blue, and there was this perfect one in the set that is like a dark teal that I think is perfect. It just ties it all together and it gives the roses a sort of wallpaper look, in a good way. I really like how it's like trying to look like a wallpaper almost. Here I'm showing you the other side of the page. It is just like completely bleeding through and onto the paper protection. Anyway, for the line art for this one, I decided to go darker than the initial one. I sketched it with this brown that I use for a couple places in the line art, but for the most part I wanted there to be more contrast in the picture, so I used a sort of dark purple for most of it, and to add all the extra shading to give it more depth, which I'm really happy with because it ties into the roses a bit as well. And yeah, so that's basically it. There's not that much else going on. I think I go in and add some white highlights. I add it to the eyes, which I think really helps make it stand out, and then to the top and the flowers, because it gives it more contrast, because some of it was a bit too dark. I really like how the white contrasts with the rest of the picture. But yeah, so that's basically it for this video. I was really happy with how these pens worked. For how cheap they are excellent quality, I think. And as you could probably tell, I did a fair bit with them for this video. I wasn't planning to, I was just going to do one page in my book, but I got carried away, and I think because it came with a pad, just the idea of doing a like finished piece really got my brain working. And like I said, I've been on a Baldurs Gate binge recently, so having that on my mind, I just wanted to do lots for Astarion. Yeah, here I'm just showing you the dimensions and information of the paper, which although I was like complaining about a little bit, I do think that is actually some like great paper, especially since it just comes with the pens, and it is shown on the Amazon page that that's what it comes with, but for some reason I just managed to completely miss that. I think if you're starting out and you haven't used pens so much, it is a really great way to like introduce you to markers and the pen's paper to use for it or whatever. So yeah, because it's been a couple days since, I have stuck him in here and like just put the swatch sheet here and, you know, put the collab there. I do have to say it's kind of weird, again, because it's been a while since doing it. I've noticed that there are some like yellow splotches on the page, and that's the same here on this page as well when they weren't glued in and they were like touching each other. I don't know where the yellow splotches have come from, if the pens just like bleed onto each other at contact. I'm really not sure. But I'll put some close-ups maybe so you can see what I'm talking about, because the page was white beforehand. But other than that, I think these pens are great, and I'm surprised because, like I said, it's a brand I've never heard of before, and the price of them is amazing. So, I mean, if you're interested in markers, I would 100% try them out, check them out. But other than that, that's the end of the video. I want to say a huge thank you to Sanjoki for letting me try these out. I also want to say a huge thank you to my patrons: Dispe, Majin Pauly, Megan Palmer, Grim Clow, Lily M, Bailey, Non-Toxic, Saint Nix, LP and Parker. Thank you guys so much, and thank you all for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.